Well, here we go. The big tamale. Let's not delay any further. Here is Chapter 14, Open Fire. For those of you who played Radiant Dawn, I'm sure you're immediately reminded of 2F. And in reality, the two chapters are quite similar in structure and execution. Chapter 14 is a pure defense map. Your only objectives are to survive and guard the city hall for 10 turns. If any enemy reaches the space where Leaf starts, then it's game over and back to the start. The enemy will attack from 4 entry points into the city through these sections of the wall that are instantly destroyed when an enemy ends their turn next to it. By splitting your army into 2 groups here and here, you can actually cover all 4 entryways while keeping your healers and charisma bots in the center to maximize support. But defending isn't all of what you will want to do here, as there are some houses it would be good to visit, and even a guiding objective to accomplish. Starting with the former, in order to access 14X, you need to visit at least 3 of these 6 houses, though you will want to go to all of them, more on that later. For the houses with actual rewards, Nana can visit here to get a new ally, anyone can go to this house to get the Resire Tome, and you can have Dean visit this last house to get his unique weapon, the Dragon Lance. Getting to those last 2 houses will require some tricky planning thanks to the numerous enemies and especially the ballista, but needless to say a warp staff is pretty much a necessity for the last one, with a rescue staff being a close second in convenience. Unless you think everything on the map is just what you're getting, every turn brings 4 armors and a mage to each flank of the city. Turn 8 brings a group of 7 Dragon Knights that are hostile and will attack you, and turn 9 brings 9 Dark Mages on the east flank that will assuredly kill any units left behind there. If all of this sounds overwhelming, well, that's the point of the map, and I love every second of it. So hopefully you do too. As for unit selection, bring all of your best units. To hell with fatigue at this point, your ass just needs to survive. For specifics, Olwen makes taking out the ballista much easier if she is able to use bolting. Safie pretty much makes getting the Dragon Lance possible, and Laura can be a godsend to help move units around the city interior thanks to her dancing. But aside from those, just bring whomever you think will help the most. I ended up bringing Karen because her leg ring boosted movement allowed me to take out all the ballista in the first couple turns. And if it weren't obvious from looking at the map, you should bring all the hammers and armor slayers you have. Every little bit helps, and they'll see progressively lesser use from now on. Alright, on to the action. One of my prime strategies for dealing with this map in the beginning is taking out the 4 ballista on the city outskirts, and the best tool for that is Olwen and bolting. By using an M up or holy water on her, Olwen can reach at least 27 magic, which should be enough to take all 4 in 2 turns if you can combine it with Lara's dancing. Most of the ballista have around 23 to 24 HP, and none of them should have any magic. If you don't have the required uses of bolting, things get more complicated. Not even Leg Ring Karen with Lara's help can make it in and out completely while remaining out of the range of another ballista, but you can swing into attack one and then wait within the minimum range of the other. This will put you in range of one of the bow armors, but a bow armor will have way less chance to hit Karen than a ballista. After you're done with the ballista, start to move your troops into position. Make sure to keep Dean and Etta out of any ballista ranges that are still left. Speaking of which, let's take a look at our new Thracian Allies. Dean is a pretty awesome Dragon Knight all around, and likely your strongest overall flying unit. He kicks ass at base thanks to great stats, A weapon ranks for lances and swords, a good PCC of 3, and 2 very welcome movement stars. But he only gets better from there thanks to some solid growths all around, though he could use some scrolls to boost his speed. On that note, Dean starts holding the Dane Scroll, which boosts the user's defense growth by 30% and their move growth by 5%, but subtracts 5% from speed growth. A special note is his personal weapon, the Dragon Lance, that he can acquire in this chapter. It requires some outside-the-box thinking, but getting it is well worth the effort, since it's basically a stronger version of Finn's Brave Lance, plus the ambush skill, but minus the crit and luck boost. Awesome. Also of special note is Dean's 20% support from Linoan, whom you will get next chapter, something that can prove very useful when you keep them within 3 spaces. Overall, Dean is just a fantastic unit outdoors, but inside he's really meh. A swords doesn't hurt, but Dragon Knights have the worst dismounting penalties in the game, so you'd really be better off with some actual foot units. But don't let that diminish your opinion of this boss dragon rider. Unlike her brother, Ada is pretty much pointless. Look, flyers are all well and nice, but if you've trained Karen, then there's no reason to use Ada. Both are outclassed by Dean in every way, but at least you've had Karen since chapter 4. Meanwhile, Ada joins now with just slightly higher bases than she did. Nah, just don't bother with Ada. She's too much of a pain to train at this point, and there's no real reward for putting in the effort. Now then, you only have to survive for 10 turns, but getting into position quickly should be your next effort. Ideally, you want to lure the armors and majors a little into the city, so only 2 can attack at a time. In particular, ambush users with anti-armor weapons can do some impressive work here, provided they don't miss. But while all of this is going on, send Nana to this house here to recruit yet another new ally, the wonderful bard Homer Simpson. Okay, yeah, so this Homer is definitely named after the author of the Iliad. No! But Thracia 776's Homer also loves to lounge around all day and drink beer. Come on, there's gotta be some sort of connection. Anyway, Homer, or Homeros as you may see in some translations, is the third mage you're getting in the game, and definitely among the best. Why? 2 words, elite and 5 PCC. Oh wait, that's 3 words. Fuck it, I'm not good at math, okay? But seriously though, Homer is just a great unit. He grows like a weed thanks to elite, and he can put those wonderful bases to great work as a result. Not that it matters much since Sage promos are so bonkers. However, as a bard, Homer can also use light magic, and coincidentally, Homer starts holding one of the 3 light tomes in the game. And no, not types of tomes, literally one of 3 books. Thracia 776 only gives you 2 lightning tomes and 1 Resire tome. If you want more, you gotta wait all the way until chapter 22 when you can buy them, or the final fucking chapter in the game when you can steal 1 from an enemy boss. Lame. But lightning itself is not a super great tome. For its rarity, it isn't very strong, and its high crit bonus is harmed by a high weight that makes double attacks difficult. But while Homer will never be able to naturally raise his light rank, his promotion to Sage does give him 2 levels, allowing him to use Resire, a much better light tome that you get this chapter. Definitely use Homer. There is no bad Sage in Thracia 776, and you can never have enough of them. Right, so as you can see with the swarms of enemies, there isn't much of a basic strategy beyond keep them at bay and don't die. But out of all the enemies, be wary of Baldak, the enemy general, who will rush you right from the start. He has a Master Lance, which is basically a ranged Brave Lance, and it is as dangerous as that sounds. Unfortunately, Baldak has 20 builds, so you can't capture him. But when you do go to engage, be careful with leaving flying and mounted units near him, since Baldak also carries a killer bow and a horse slayer. So like many bosses, he is safest taken out with magic. And do take him out right when you're able, since it will deprive the enemy of 3 leadership stars. Anyway, in addition to the main city defense, there are a number of extra things you can and should do around the chapter that will either help you out right away or pay off in the long run. First, on the plate, is the Guidance chapter. Just send whoever isn't busy like Ada around the city to visit each home, and while you only need 3 to get to 14x, you should visit all of them, as each nets you a potential S rank in the Guidance chapter. The second task you can work toward is sort of a twofer, obtaining Dean's Dragonlance and taking out the Baron Paulus. I say these tasks are conjoined because Paulus is sitting right next to the house that Dean needs to go to, so it can be a good idea to work congruently on them. Paulus is a new type of enemy unit, a Baron, basically a general that can also use magic and staffs. He's a bit of a monster to go up against normally because he has Great Shield, a Tornado Tome, and a Master Axe, which like the Master Lance is a ranged Brave Axe with less accuracy, so first use Serum's Sleep Staff to put him to bed. Then you can try this crazy strategy out. Warp Dean without any weapons but at least 1 Crusader Scroll to the house and have him visit to get the Dragonlance that he will automatically equip since he has no other weapons. Now don't move him after visiting, just keep him on the house. During the enemy phase, the armors and bishop will rush Dean, but with the ambush granting Dragonlance, he should be able to take them all out without any trouble, and if one survives, he has a scroll to prevent crits from the killer lances. Then, on the second turn, Dean captures Paulus, takes and releases him on the third turn, and returns to Tara via rescue staff. Cool, right? Of course, I didn't have a rescue staff when I did this, and even then I sent down Karen for the same basic strategy. But if you lack rescue for whatever reason, do everything I suggested, but then take out the Iron Ballista and just fly back to Tara. And don't fuck around with Iron Ballista, by the way. They have 5 extra range and might compared to normal Ballista, and their users are coded to have a higher skill base, making them much more accurate. So don't think you can fudge a miss out of them. It'll hit Dean or Karen 9 times out of 10 if they're in range, and thus force a restart. But anyway, taking out the boss doesn't just deprive the enemy of his 4 leadership stars, leading to much easier engagements. It also stops all the mage and armor reinforcements, which can be a downer if you want some EXP, so maybe think about doing this midway into the chapter. In particular, I love to use this level to train Marita with the Elite Manual. You've just gotten the Dane Scroll, so load her up with that and a bunch of others and go to town. Hell, thanks to the aforementioned scroll, she got 2 movement points in this run from just the leveling alone. You may also want to check out this shop if you have the time, since it's the last one in the game to sell S-drinks. But you're gonna get up to 6 free in the next chapter anyway, so only buy if you feel like you must. Anyway, assuming you've taken out the boss and the enemies have been greatly thinned as a result, then it's a good idea to go to the house in the bottom right. Anyone can visit there, and the occupant will give you the Resire Tome, a B-rank light magic that is essentially this game's Nosferatu. Except Resire came before Nosferatu, so this comparison is kind of weird. Anyway, it heals the user by whatever damage they deal. It's a powerful tome, but it has a somewhat lowish accuracy of 65. You're meant to give this to Linoan in the next chapter, since she starts with B-Light, but I find this is much better used on Homer, or 2 other sages you will get later, thanks to their higher growth and stats. Use at your own risk. On turn 7, retreat back into Tara if you've been hanging out outside, since 7 Dragon Knights will spawn on the south. They're green NPCs, but they are really no different from red enemies, as they will attack you and you can attack them back. But be careful with your mana units, since many of them carry Horse Layers. And if the Dragon Knights aren't bad enough, on the next turn, 9 Dark Mages will spawn to the east instantly. These robes will kill anyone unfortunate to be left around there, so continue to retreat into the castle. But on turn 10, a ceasefire will ensue, and the day will be won. If you can make it past here, you're pretty much prepared for whatever else this game can throw at you, but feel free to stick around for the rest of my guide if you want, though I will be taking a break of some length due to my impending move to Victoria. Thanks for watching thus far, and I hope you continue on and enjoy Fire Emblem Thracia 776. This has been ModelOmega, and once again, thank you very much for watching.
Swirling wind, the silver seas